Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I will be one of your hosts tonight. Of course, I am joined, finally, Lyss and I have been reunited on our podcast here. On a good night, too. The Jets win 4-1 against the red-hot Detroit Redwings, even though they lost to the Kraken the other day. But other than that, they had a good start to the season. Anyways, Lyss, I haven't spoken to you in forever, on camera, that is. How you doing, and how you feeling after that one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, full disclosure and transparency to the viewers, like you're just gonna be witnessing like two besties catching up here. Like we got a whole lot to talk about this game specifically. For those of you who were here last week or last game, I guess on Tuesday, thank you for being there. It was a solo show. These are way easier because I get to hear Brady's thoughts, get to call him dumb when he says dumb things. Like it's a good time where I'm feeling good, mostly Brady because I'm here with you. But also I'm feeling good because the Winnipeg Jets won this hockey game against the Detroit Red Wings, kept Alex DeBrincat, the talk of the league, off the scoreboard. I feel good about this game. There are things to not like, of course. The Winnipeg Jets, the notorious second period sleepers, were present tonight, but all in all, a win is a win.
The third period was tough too for the first 10 minutes, but yeah, I don't know. I'm happy. Like that tonight was a game where I felt like it's very rare you get to watch a Jets team play and you get to go, they were the team that made the least amount of mistakes tonight. Like, yeah. I don't know if that's just my takeaway, but like, it just seemed like, there were a couple little things, obviously on the one goal that the Red Wings did score. Morrissey kind of was caught in no man's land there,
yeah.
but hey, again, we no need to focus on just the bad stuff. There was plenty of good stuff. Lyss, I know that you wanted to point out a couple guys that were your dudes of the game.
Dudes of the week.
Dudes
I forgot
of the
about
week.
Dudes of the week. We used to do Dudes of the week. What a good time. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think one thing that Jets fans can do is talk about the defense forever. And honestly, like I really want to talk about the forwards today because there's a lot kind of going on across the board. So let's start from the top down and go from there. I have done a full 360 on Mark Scheifele. I was the world's biggest Mark Scheifele fan when he first came back to Winnipeg. It was kind of like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people were Mark Scheifele fans because he was a first draft pick and he was so good and all these kinds of things. And so it was just, that was my guy. And then he just became like public enemy number one for a couple of years. Like, I don't know, like just when the Winnipeg Jets were in their like weird, insane era, he was like kind of the leader of that. Like he was kind of unlikable and he was just so disengaged defensively that made people frustrated with him, all those kinds of things. But we are all the way back. Like I am all the way back. Like watching him work along the boards, watching him make like nifty, shifty passes and just be in the right spots in the offensive zone. Oh my god, it's so fun. It's so fun.
The back door, like going behind the net, pass it back out front. I know, like, at first I was like, how did Kyle Connor not score that? But then after you see the pass is kind of like pretty in tight to his body. Yeah. So
but it's just like even putting the puck there, it's like, oh,
that is my so one good. Of my favorite moves of all time. It's just so funny to watch the goalie just go flying the opposite way to try and guard the wraparound, and wow, just things worked out tonight. I'm just happy. Yeah. I can't complain. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. But so him on that first line specifically, really been a fan of him lately. Kyle Connor, I'm not going to rip into him too much because we've had some issues with him in the last couple of games, and I've said my piece. It is what it is. But Alex Scheifele, also a big fan. Talk about him a little bit.
Oh yeah, I have really liked his addition to the top to that top line. I mean, obviously we saw kind of what he could do on the third line and the banging and crashing, because I've said this. I said this on the shows that I was on. I've heard other people saying this too. To me, he is just a more premium version of Vlad Namestnikov. He's a guy you can put in any situation and he'll mix well with anyone, little shades of Matthew Perreault. But I don't know, there's just something that he brings to that top line. Obviously a defensive conscious. Like I said, I don't want to gripe on Scheifele because he's actually been really a lot better this season with his defensive effort, just even getting his stick in lanes, coming back. He's not standing up as much. He's actually skating back and helping defensively, but I think Iafallo definitely helps with that. And one thing that I think that is really needed on a line with both Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, two guys who like to do, as like Sean Reynolds likes to say, the snake charmer offense. Alex Iafallo does not do that. When he gets the puck, he is going to the net and he is shooting the puck, or he is panning it off to someone immediately and getting himself to net. Like, there's something that is really, really valuable on that line to be able to provide a bit of, a threat in both ways, where, if you're leaving guys alone, they're going to make those nice passes to each other. They're going to find the most high quality shots. But if you're not defending, if you're defending for that, then the direct lines towards the net are going to be open. And I find that Alex Iafallo is constantly a guy who's on that. He didn't score tonight, of course, but I thought he had a great game as well. I really, really like what he's brought to that top line. And like, at this point now, if you were going to ask me to change the top line, like, I wouldn't say Iafallo needs to come off of that line. I mean, I'm not going to harp on anyone, but but no, like it was great, and top to bottom, I'm glad you wanted to talk about the forwards, because like this was a game where the Winnipeg Jets, especially this season, in my opinion, are going to live and die by the mistakes that they make. In seasons past, they obviously made a lot of mistakes, but they were able to sometimes score their way out of it. I think they've lost a little bit of their scoring touch this year in regards to, losing out on, say what you will about Blake Wheeler, say what you will about Pierre Dubois. They put up points.
I'll say what I want about Pierre Dubois.
But, well, hey, I mean, dude, you do you. But yeah, like, it's nice to see that the Jets have been making a bit more of an effort to play defensively. Because I think that's kind of how they won tonight. Obviously, other Connor from Michigan. Connor Hellebuck stood on his head, especially in that third period on that one power play. Absolutely saved the Jets bacon. But hey, it's a team game, and goalie's part of the team, so
yep.
It is what it is. But I'm just glad to see the Jets didn't make as many mistakes as previously.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think you made a really good point when talking about Alex Iafallo, like, crashing that net. Like, I think it's a nice addition to that line to have someone who gets up front there when you have such great shooters on that line, to sort of tuck in some rebounds or at least cause some chaos. So it's definitely been going well. And we have some people in the chat saying they're excited for Velarde to come back and that they're really liking Iafallo and all these different kinds of things. And you said yourself, you don't know if he's the one that you take off if you tweak any of those lines. What's interesting to me is that this first line is the first line. And then after that, we kind of throw structure to the wind here. So you mentioned before we started streaming here that Nikolai Ehlers had 13 minutes of ice time. And we know that this third line that they have, some people are singing Nino Niederreiter's praises in the chat. We have some kind words about Gus. Like, the Jets have some good players with their forwards right now. But let's talk about what is on paper their second line. Let's talk about those players a little bit, and then we can dive into the deployment and all those kinds of things. But Nikolai Ehlers, guy on the wall, back on the board tonight, first goal of the season, and it was a beautiful one. I could never make that shot in my life. Obviously, it was a beautiful shot or pass from Perfetti, but just like the spin, absolute snipe, I was like, this is hilarious. This is the best way for Nikolai Ehlers to get back on the score sheet. Great goal. What'd you think of him tonight?
Oh, Ehlers, man, like, I think Ehlers had a slow start to the season, just naturally due to, shaking the rust off, not really getting the chance to play in preseason due to the whole neck spasm issue he was going through. But man, tonight he was flying, and maybe that's what you do when you only get 13 minutes of ice time. I'm not here to harp on the ice time again. It's a win tonight. I'm trying not to be super critical of everything, because hey, the product that went on the ice went out and played well, and I thought they were as good as the Red Wings. I wouldn't say they were necessarily better, but they came out on top. The bounces went their way. Their goalie was better, despite facing, the Jets' kryptonite and James Reimer. If you remember last season, the way he absolutely killed the Jets. But yeah, as far as Nikolai Ehlers' game goes, like, he looked so explosive tonight, and even past the offensive side of things, he had a decent amount of shots on net tonight, but even just like he was really in the game. I know it's really a really weird thing to say that, but when it came to like the extra stuff. Like there was a lot of times where I noticed where he was getting in on even just like finishing hits. There was one shift. It was right before Morrissey took the high sticking on Lucas Raymond. There was a huge battle between Raymond and Ehlers where they were going back and forth at it all the entire time. Like Ehlers looks, first of all, the rust has been knocked off. He's got his legs under him. Second of all, his shot looks great. Third of all, he's engaged. He's going, he's in the rough areas, as something that a lot of people would criticize him maybe for, being a smaller guy. He's in there fighting for the puck. And on top of that, his line is popping off. And I'm glad you brought up the Cole Perfetti pass to him on the goal, because that pass is the amount of poise. Every single time that Cole Perfetti gets an assist, I'm just astounded by it, because it's not just a regular pass all the time. Like what I found what I wanted to praise about that pass specifically was that Cole Perfetti, for a good chunk of that shift, was covering for one of the D-men. I think it was Dylan Sandberg was in the corner, and ends up actually passing it up to him right before he passes it to Ehlers. Like that's a really difficult spot for a forward. Again, obviously they're professional athletes. They play this game professionally, but whenever you play you're in a spot that you're not in normally, having the pressure of trying to hold the blue line, you have a guy coming at you, having the poise to not immediately throw it back into the corner to where Sandberg is, to potentially pass it across and get it intercepted by one of the Red Wings, who are fast as hell and can just go up the ice and score on you. But to have your poise to hold it until Nikolai Ehlers finally breaks free from his man. And then again, like I said, finishing off the goal, like it was phenomenal. Did you have anything you wanted to comment on for that second line? I know you were singing Vlad Nemestikov's praises to me before the game or before the show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. And with Perfetti, before we move on from him, like I'm so serious at this point. Obviously, I watch more Jets games than any other team in the league. But if you are a true hockey fan, like student of the game, just enjoys watching good quality hockey, there will be a point where Cole Perfetti will be one of your top 10 favorite players to watch. I'm so like, he is just unbelievably cool. Like anytime he's on the ice, my eyes just like immediately go to him, because I'm like, he's going to do something so unbelievably intelligent. Like he's just so cool and collected, and just like you said, yeah, like in that up top, holding that puck properly, that's a really scary place to hold the puck, because one little stick check and someone flying away when you're on your back like that, like they're gone. Yeah, like that goal and just everything he does always, like he's so good, and it's nice to see when it pays off. And an up to speed Nikolai Ehlers will help capitalize on those chances more often. So I'm really excited to see them develop a bit more. The secret third guy in that line, is Vlad Nemestikov, and he is becoming, and if some of our pals are in this chat, I say this with the utmost, I love you, Matthew Perreault. I love you, Matthew Perreault. But he is my new Matthew Perreault. He is my new Matthew Perreault, my emotional support player who you just plug in on any line and you watch him, and he's just so sneaky good. Sneaky good is the way I describe Vlad Nemestikov, because he can be a little speedy sometimes. He's so good with his stick when he's at the top of the 5-man defensive star down there, whatever. And he moves the puck really well. He's good on the boards. Like he's just good at everything. And I like the comparison you made with Alex Iafallo, where he's just like, just kind of like a better version of him. Like, what is it? The meat and potatoes guy. We have a lot of those meat and potatoes guys. But honestly, for a Winnipeg Jets team that's just been full of guys who are terrific at one thing and horrific at others, it's kind of nice to have a bunch of dudes on this team now who are just good at everything. It's kind of refreshing, and it's a really nice way to sort of complement some of the styles we have with some of our players. Nikolai Ehlers, great example of that. Unbelievably good at some things, but not great at others. So having that kind of, neutralized by Vlad Nemestikov, I like this line a lot. And don't get me wrong, when Gabe Vilardi's healthy, Vlad Nemestikov is the first person I bump out of the top 6 down back into the bottom 6 there. But for the time being, oh my God, like he is the sneaky good reason why that line is starting to prop up a little bit.
Yeah, and I found it interesting. Again, I'm not sure if you spoke at all about this, but the fact that Perfetti had been moved off of center. I think that it's, as much as I love to have Cole Perfetti at center, I think that right now at this moment it's not a bad idea. You know, the Jets have been kind of to start the season. They've had their good points, they've had their bad points. And I think right now they just kind of need to get some games under their belt. Throughout the season, it seems like Cole Perfetti is getting more and more situated in general with just, you know, I think everyone kind of takes a couple games to get really into the swing of things. Obviously he was benched near the end of the game, which you were saying to me before here you didn't have an issue with, and to that I would say I believe by any of the metrics that the hashtag numbers, Cole Perfetti is one of the better defensive players on this Jets team, but still you think that it wasn't that bad of an idea. Did you want to maybe speak on that? Sure, defend yourself?
Sure.
Cole Perfetti hater?
Here's my take. Cole Perfetti hater? Cole Perfetti hater? Yeah, make that into a t-shirt. Oh my goodness. No, absolutely not. I love Cole Perfetti, and I fully agree with you that the whole centerpiece, I'm not too worried. The reason I didn't like the move is because I felt like the Jets were panicking when they didn't need to panic, but just the actual fit of him on the wing, I don't care. Like, throw him there. Who cares? Whatever. But yeah, he got moved off of that line at the end when the Jets were defending that lead, and Morgan Barron replaced him. And I don't dislike that move at all. And you're right. When looking at particularly like expected goals differential, like Cole Perfetti is not a bad defender. Like I'm not saying that, but I think Vlad Nemestikov, I was saying before, I really like the way he does the top of the defensive area there. I like the way that he pressures defenders when they have possession. And when you're defending a 6-on-5, personally, I like having two fling the body, penalty killing good forwards, and then your third forward being a guy who can jump on pucks. That's why I don't hate Kyle Connor on the 6-on-5. I prefer Ehlers, but I like having a guy who's got a little bit of speed, who can do the dry sidle, jump on the puck, and just shoot down the ice and bury those pucks. Because at the end of the day, any player who's killing penalties can shoot a puck into a net. That's not what it's about. It's who can jump on the loose ones as soon as they're there and actually capitalize. So my preference is putting out two penalty killing type forwards and one jump on the puck forward. So in this situation, Nikolai Ehlers was the jump on the puck forward, and Morgan Barron and Vlad Nemestikov are the two, to me, penalty killing forwards who are really aggressive up at the top, but also I think have pretty good reads of when the puck is moving a little bit lower down the ice as well. So I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good thing to point at too, is looking at who was put onto that line in place of Cole Perfetti is Morgan Barron, who is a guy who is like a hound on the puck, and like the as much as I love Cole Perfetti, he is a bit of a lighter player. And so what I think, despite the fact that I think that he's still pretty good in boards battles, I think he's able to fish the puck out decently well. I don't think that that's what the Jets are looking for when they're holding a lead, right? So maybe, to give you your credit for pointing that out, having Morgan Barron on that line definitely, provides them a bit more grit and ability to battle on the boards. And hey, you're not even necessarily trying to get the puck on the boards. You might just be trying to waste the time, right? Whereas yeah. I would much prefer having a guy like Barron, who we definitely know has a great motor too, and holding the puck against the boards can be pretty tiring, despite what you may think.
And so Cole Perfetti's not going to hold the puck. He's going to get it for you. He's going to get it for you in like 3 seconds. So
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about in regards to the forwards, and you kind of mentioned it, is and I, I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing it out. One of the things that we've been really one of the things that we've been propping up, that we were saying that's good about the Jets, is their depth this year. And it's nice that the Jets are able to lean on their fourth line a lot more. I've really, really liked David Gustafsson. I think his first game was kind of but ever since then, he's been great. He had a goal last game. Yeah. It was great seeing that in person at the CLC. Even though they didn't play his goal song, I was really upset because he has one of my favorite ones, which is Levels by Avicii. But anyways, that's not the point. The fourth line tonight, like David Gustafsson had almost, had 11 and a half minutes of ice time. The thing that's good about depth is that you can rely on more than just your top guys. What I want to ask you is, despite the success that we're seeing, is it worth it to take time away from a guy like Nikolai Ehlers, who we both agree was had a good game tonight. And obviously, there's no way that the Lowry line is going to get any time taken away from them just because they're naturally the shutdown line. What do you think about all that? I don't really have a good question. I just want to bring it up.
No. I think what's hard is in a game like this where it wasn't an overly like violent or aggressive game, but there was a lot of isolated penalties. I would say what at the end of that game, maybe we could say 14 minutes were played because there were no power play goals on either side, correct? So we played out the full penalty and there were never matches, never fights. So I want to say a good almost third of that game. Actually, a good third of that game I could probably almost say because of the pulling the goalie at the end was not played at 5-on-5. So that's why I always get a little bit unsure of line deployment. And then when you finish a power play, who comes out? Well, not Nikolai Ehlers because he was just on units 1 and 2 probably, because who knows what they're doing right now. So I'm always a little bit unsure, but you're right that it seems like the line that never gets anything taken away from them is the Lowry line. And I know it's because the Winnipeg Jets feel very loyal to them and they feel like they're very reliable and all those kinds of things. And I get it, I do, but I don't know. It's just the type of line that even though they scored tonight and the goal was hilarious,
It was.
it was hilarious goal, great time, great everything. They're not a line that's going to score for you every time they go out on the ice. When we know that. So I choosing to put them out when you're, when it's a 2-1 game and you really need to put a goal in and cycling them more than you're cycling a line with Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers on it is just, it's a choice. I don't know. It always, every time I see that line go out there, it always makes me feel like the Jets are playing to not lose as opposed to win. And there is a time to play to not lose, but not tonight. Tonight was a night to sort of shove it down their throat once they jumped up to the 2-0 like they did. And tonight's a night that you play the Ehlers line more than you play the Lowry line. So I don't know. I find it very interesting.
Yeah, for me, like if you were wondering, for the 5-on-5 time on ice, the Iafallo Scheifele Connor line had 14 minutes 41 seconds. Lowry Niederreiter Appleton was 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Barron Kupari Gustafson 7 minutes and 37 seconds. And Ehlers, Perfetti, Nemesnikov at 7 minutes and 15 seconds. So the least of all four of them. I mean, only by 22 seconds.
Yeah, but that's not supposed to be the discrepancy between line 2 and 4.
No, I know. And so, the thing that I found the most interesting about it tonight was the Red Wings are a fast team, and I understand that. As you pointed out, the matchups are the Red Wings have the matchup, the advantage where they can match their lines to yours. So in my mind, I feel like that means you should just run out your best lines over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And, I'm not necessarily saying that the Lowry line needs to be the line that is, has time on ice taken away from them. I just find it's interesting that it's always happens to be the Perfetti, Nemesnikov, Ehlers line. But anyways, that's neither here nor there, unless you did have anything to comment. I'm glad you brought up that goal, though, because first off, absolutely beautiful goal until you take a microscope and look into it a little bit further. Just an incredibly great, a fantastic tic-tac-toe passing play from, it starts actually with Lowry to Nino around the blue line. He stops up, makes a nice little move, passes it over to Lowry, and somehow Lowry corrals it and gets it over to Mason Appleton, who shoots it, and had James Reimer not been there, would have missed the net. I mean, he might have been able to corral it again with his backhand and put it in, but luckily it does go in off of Reimer's skate.
Yeah, that was a wholly overcommitment, Batman. That was James Reimer really helped us out on that one. So shout out to my boy, ally for sure.
Manitoba boy. Yeah, I don't know. Jeez. I mean,
yeah, kind of that was kind of the end of what I wanted to say on all that. And just the last thing I will say is on that depth and the line and the deployment and all that. One thing that drove me up the wall last year and the year before when, the fourth line was Jansen Harkins. How far back does it go to Nick Shore? You know, like that when that was
Saku
the fourth
Manalainen.
line we were working. Saku,
I saw
exactly.
I saw someone
That
the
was
other
the
day
thing.
with a breast cancer Manalainen jersey at the game the other day, and I'm like, that's nice, but it's also it's
Yeah,
just
that person definitely was a strategic thinker on the bid. Was like, what's a jersey that no one would want? And I respect them for it. Um,
sorry.
but it used to drive me crazy when the Jets would score a goal and it was like, yes, momentum. And then you would throw Saku Menelainen on the ice for 45 seconds. And it was like, what did that do? So the fact that now the energy that comes from that fourth line is actually some real offensive pressure that actually like does scare the opposing team. And like they actually do have the fear that maybe this team will score on us because that was never a fear when Saku Menelainen was on the ice. Is quite refreshing because I understand that energy line when you want to keep up the energy. But like, if you want a Dennis bang bang, you have to throw Kyle Connor out on the ice after Nikolai Ehlers scores and vice versa. Like you kind of got to do that. So the fact that now when they throw the fourth line out after a goal, I don't get like physically violent
Yeah.
is quite nice.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a really good thing to point out is the fact that like, I am complaining here, but at the end of the day, like I really like our fourth line. So like,
yeah, 100%.
It's one of those things where I'm more trying to just acknowledge that obviously that ice time has to come from somewhere. And I'm not necessarily criticizing the fact that it's always Ehlers or it's not enough of, Scheifele's line or it's not enough of Lowry's line. It's just more noticing and seeing how the Jets are different this year. They have a wealth of talent, which is, again, this is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And even going back to the, when Velarde comes back, I was saying the other day, I was sitting next to Hustler at the game, and I was just saying like, oh man, like it sucks that when Velarde comes back, like Gus is gonna have to be put back in the press box, and he's like, yeah, so what? And I'm like, no, I'm like, I know, I get it, I understand that, like this is a good problem to have, but it just sucks for for David Gustafsson or whoever it is.
My mental health, bro. Like, come on, like you get attached to these guys, and like when a player is good, it sucks to see them leave the lineup. Like, even though it is the best course of action forward, like he's a player we've all wanted to be in this lineup so bad. But even if it wasn't him, even if it was, well, Kapari obviously not, but like I don't know, like Morgan Barron or Vlad Nemestikov getting pulled off, like you'd be like, that sucks too, because you like those guys.
Absolutely.
And they are good at hockey. That's always the part you have to add. I like a lot of players, but they're also good at hockey. And that's the most important thing.
They are, yeah. Do
you want to jump to chat questions? I think we probably, and I will say, this show so far, we've done a good job about talking specifically about the game. That was the one thing when I was doing my little monologue show on Tuesday. I was like, it's so hard to talk about game specifics with yourself. Like sometimes you just want to talk big picture with this team, but let's jump into these chat questions. So we have some people in the chat. For those of you who are here watching live, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you coming and joining us live after the show. We know there are lots of different things going on. I'm sure both Brady and I will be hopping over to watch Kenny and Rennie after this. A couple other people do live streams, live tweets, post-game pressers, and all those kinds of things. So we appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. So thanks for being here. But if you are in the chat and have some questions, would love to hear from you. But before we do that, throw them away and we'll bring them up afterwards. We'll look into them. Brady, I just have a quick question for you. So I was watching the broadcast, 2 intermissions.
I was wondering if you wanted to go here.
2 clips of the Dreger interview. I was like, man, they are really encouraging us to watch this Chipper Dreger interview. You had some thoughts on attendance, and I feel like Jets fans all seem to want to talk about attendance. It just seems like a billion people like talking over each other. Everyone has thoughts on it, but I want to hear yours. I do want to hear yours.
All right, I have some hot takes when it comes to the attendance. First off, just talking about the interview. I can't remember who it was. Someone on Twitter pointed it out that this interview was well done. Like this was Chipper said a lot of good things in regards to maybe what the Jets fans wanted to hear. It felt a little bit more transparent. I'm not going to say it's fully transparent, but a little more transparent than maybe that we got in the springtime when we were getting some passive aggressive messaging, and maybe some dishonesty in regards to how the team was playing. And someone on Twitter pointed out that this was a really good interview, but it would have meant a lot more to Jets fans if it came out in the spring when those emails were being sent out to season ticket holders. My personal thoughts on the whole attendance thing. First off, I see the comparisons that people are making to the Bombers. I think that the only thing that you can really compare between the Bombers and the Jets is the fact that the Bombers are a good team and they win games, and naturally that's more fun. But also, I just feel like those two things aren't very comparable in the sense of, the Bombers play, what is it, like nine
games?
Is it not 9 games total or 9 games at home? 9 games.
9 games at home. 9 games at home.
So 9 games at home
in the regular season when it's sunny out and on the weekend.
Yes, exactly. And where tickets aren't incredibly expensive, people will go, and even if you're not a football fan, you might just go to hang out at the Rum Hut and drink and have fun and see people and party. The Bombers games are much more of a party, of a social event, whereas Jets games, just naturally being in a smaller, cramped stadium, I just don't think that they're very comparable in the sense of, I don't think the Jets really could do a lot in order to fix some of those problems. I also think that, again, having 41 games at home is not comparable to having 9 games at home. There's a lot less, when the games are happening, when there's sometimes back-to-backs, like there's a lot less drive to have people go out and spend their hard-earned money on this product, and especially when, again, the economy isn't doing that great right now. Obviously, after COVID kind of killed everything. I'm sure a lot of people work from home now. I personally work from home. I don't want to leave the house as much as I used to. I've grown accustomed to living at home. Obviously, I do what I gotta do, but I've been to 2 of the Jets games, and even I'll say this: I think that the Jets in-game experience for fans is not that bad. It could be better, absolutely, but in comparison to some of the other teams, like, it's not worse. I would say it's as good. I would even say, like, their little mid game gags are funnier. Like, I love the hoser cam, the celebrity lookalike. Perfect. Like, they do great with that stuff. While I do think there are things that could be improved, students section would be awesome.
I need that.
We like. I just think that if you're gonna have 41 games at home, you need to incentivize people to go, and students are gonna want to go when it costs, what is it, like $80 for a ticket, $40, $60 for a ticket if you want to go on like a Tuesday night. But if you want to go on like a Saturday night, it's gonna be 80, maybe $100. Beers are, $10 or $11, $12. I don't even know what they are. I can't remember. But too expensive. So my main take on that, excuse me, is things will get better with time once the economy gets a little bit better, I would hope. Hopefully the Jets also realize that putting a good product on the ice is important, because I think that that's also very key to getting people to come to your games. But also just, lower some prices and people will come. Yeah. I'm sure that is honestly the biggest case personally. But
yeah, no, and I agree. And I think the thing that's really important to me is understanding that you look at the Detroit rink tonight. This team is on like a hot streak, and Detroit is a hockey city, like empty seats galore. Saddle Dome tonight, I saw some pictures that like Mike Gould tweeted. It looked like it was a midget hockey game being played. Like, it's happening everywhere, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but my issue is this attendance feels like a straw man argument against the organization that I love beefing the powers that be when it comes to sports, when it comes to everything. Like, I think you need to hold your ownership groups accountable as often as you can. But if you try and hold them accountable for things that aren't really their issue or aren't the main problem, it makes people think that you're just trying to be a hater when there are actually real reasons to criticize and question what an organization is doing. So being like, oh, there are only 11,000 people at this game instead of 15,000 on a Tuesday night against the St. Louis Blues, like, there would also be 10,000 people at a Calgary Flames game against the St. Louis Blues on a Tuesday. Like, I think all the points that you brought up are super important, and I'll push you more on the in-game experience. My argument is that I think once you've gone to one Jets game this year, you've gone to every Jets game. There's not a lot of difference between the
Yeah,
two of them. Like
that's fair.
people like like the women's game last year, they trotted out a bunch of women to drop the puck, and then after that, if you didn't show up for that part, you would have had no idea that it's a women's game. Like there's nothing in the game that makes me feel like it's something special when it's supposed to be a special night. So little things like that, like I want to tweak and stuff like that, but I do think it's really important to make sure that you're not just being a hater for the sake of being a hater if you want to have a real productive conversation about attendance. But I think at the end of the day, the question is the dollar amount. It's the dollar amount to get in the door. It's the dollar amount. If you want to compete with other entertainment sources, you can't be 3 times the price as what it costs to go to another entertainment source. That's the flat out bottom line, end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's no party section. There's no rum hut for people to go to and just like casually hang out. Like that's
if
my
I
big.
could go to a game and not be told by the mom sitting beside me to stop swearing.
Have you been since at all this year yet?
No.
So
No.
they redid where like the Bud Light Lounge was.
Yeah.
So
okay.
now
I went
it's
to a preseason game. I saw it, but I don't really know.
What did you? So now that is the craft corner, which by the way, fantastic. That's awesome. I love the fact that there is craft beers there, local beers. It's great to be able to go there and not just get like Budweiser and Bud Light. So like that is really nice, but my biggest criticism of it is that it's on the one section where there's it's the Ticketmaster Lounge. But the Ticketmaster Lounge, like I just don't like the fact that it's in that spot there, the craft beer corner, and it's blocked off completely by a big huge wall. It's not even like a glass wall or something where you can see in and see people doing their thing there, because they have a bar inside of the Ticketmaster Lounge as well too. But there's a gigantic big wall and you're not able to actually like go to that area and casually mingle and casually watch the game. Like that's, again, I think that's one of the big strengths that the Bombers do, is that you don't have to go there to specifically watch the game. You can go there and socialize and hang out. I know plenty of people who are not interested in football whatsoever who go to like a good chunk of the Bomber games just because it's a fun atmosphere to be in. You can go to the rum hut, get a drink, socialize with people while also casually watching the game. That is my big frustration with it. If anyone has been there yet, it is they'll know what I'm talking about. If not, you'll see it eventually. But it also has really weird vibes. Like it reminds me of like like an airport terminal with like a bunch of maybe
that was the vibe. Go Jets, go.
Go Jets. Hey, there you go. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think, I don't know, like, to me, the way of the future, and some people are gonna hate this, is to make sure you cater to the casual fan too. If all you do is try and cater to people who are diehard forever Jets fans who will show up no matter what, pay the same amount no matter what, like you're gonna lose. Like the reason that Vegas has become this whole enigma thing is because they make it a fun experience, and people show up to those games who don't really know what hockey is or care what hockey is, and you can try and convert people into falling in love with the on ice product, but you got to get them in the door, and you can do that if there's a social experience. So we'll probably wrap it up here, but I do think it is a conversation that we will continue to have, and it's important to look at it from like a solutions oriented angle instead of being like everything sucks, no one wants to go to Jets games. Like there are ways to kind of grow and develop from there, and I think it's really important to sort of diagnose properly and understand where the issues lie and how to directly fix them instead of just implementing, blanket solutions and hoping that they fix the problem. So it'll be interesting to see if attendance picks up as the team hopefully gets better as well, if there's any correlation between the two, or if there's going to be a higher correlation, which I think there will be, between ticket prices going down, attendance going up.
Absolutely. Do you have time for one question? I have one question for you, Lyss.
I always have time for one question.
It's just a general one, just because we haven't had to speak. We haven't gotten the chance to speak. Do you think that this team that we have right now has the chance to do you think that there are pieces here that the Jets can build upon? Do you think the Jets have a chance to potentially go make a deep run this year with this team? Because winning, we discussed as that is one of the key parts of getting fans in the door. I want to know what your opinion is, because I actually don't even think I've asked you this off of the podcast. How do you feel about this team? And then we'll wrap it up on that. Sorry, it might be a big question to ask right at the end, I wanted to get this out there because I don't know. I just want to hear what you think.
Well, in that question, you asked like four questions, and I was immediately about to say yes, and then I was like no, and then I was like yes, and then I was like no. So, do I think there are pieces? Yes, very yes. Do I think this team, as it stands right now, can make a deep run? I'm leaning more towards no, because I don't believe in this team's ability to not make egregious mistakes. Because egregious mistakes, like you said before, they're gonna be what affects this team. Like across the board, meh play with a couple of goals will get this team pretty far because of who their goaltender is. But there's only so much. Not even God can stop some things that occur because of egregious mistakes. So with this decor that I feel like is prone to making those big mistakes, I worry about that too much, because one big mistake that leads to one big goal can erase however many minutes of good play. So I think they need to make a couple tweaks on the back end, but I think they have the right pieces in the forward group to make something work. I think one or two little ads would make it a lot better, but you can always say that. And at the end of the day, you can always find the weakest link in your 12 forwards and try and make that one better until you have a team of 12 Connor McDavids. So I'd say, just to be competitive, one more forward, but then something has to change on that decor. So I don't know. But I'm ready to sit back and find out, you know?
And that's the thing. And that's the beauty of sports, is we can talk and talk and talk if we think the team has what it takes to win. But it only, that's why the games are played. That's why they play the games. And yeah, we're only what, 6 games into the year? 7? I don't even know. 6 games, I want to say.
Something like
that.
Or 7.
Oh,
yeah,
no. I think 7.
Seven.
I think 7.
It's 7.
I think it's 7. Anyways, plenty more games to come. Plenty more coverage from the both of us. Thank you for answering that question right at the end, even though you were trying to wrap it up. But that will be enough for us here tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Obviously, please do follow Lyss at Lyss Hood. Follow myself at NHL Chunky. Follow at STPN Sports. Subscribe, like the stream. If you're still here, please like the stream. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful evening. I'll be back with a co-stream on the weekend here with Mark from Game Over Montreal.
That's going to be a fun one.
On Saturday. I cannot wait. It should be a lot of fun. But I hope to see all of your lovely faces here. Even though I don't see you guys, but I hope to see you guys in the chat.
I see you. I see you. I see you.
There we are. Alrighty, guys. Thank you.